Hi, it's Mark Owen from Moose, Marketing and PR, the editor of Punchline Magazine, and welcome to Punchline Talks, the business breakfast briefers, where each week I invite a panel of experts to review the morning newspapers, find out what's going on in their own individual business and their own individual business sector, and finally, what's caught their eye in this week's Punchline. I've got a fantastic panel of guests, which I'd like to introduce you. So we've got Morton Cullimore, Managing Director of the Cullimore Group. Turnover is around £10 million post-pandemic, employs 90 people from Frampton-on-Severn. We've got James Horwood, Commercial Director of Kitchens, Gardens and Food, based in Stroud, employs around 15 people, famous for their Wolfie's porridge, which they recently got on British Airways GWR trains and launched the NAF range of products. We got Nick Broadys, Managing Director of Avenue Cars, Chairman of the Pied Piper Appeal, who recently sold Lanceny Road business centres to Gloucestershire County Council for a whopping load of money that you won't want to talk about. And finally, we've got Richard Cook, leader of Gloucester City Council, which employs 230 people, turnover around £14 million. And let's be honest, who would want that job? Welcome all to the panel. Let's quickly run
morning, Mark.
The papers. Good morning, everybody. How are you all doing?
Mark.
Morning, Mark.
Thank you for that, Nick. Everyone's enthusiastically running through because it took me 5 turns to get this right. Okay, we've got the Western Daily Press. Public inquiry set for Novichok death. I thought that was long on that story. The Citizen newspaper. Anger at fireworks are fired at homes. The Times newspaper, going to the big sheets, Patel blames EU for mass immigration in Channel. The Daily Telegraph, lockdown returns to Europe as virus surges. The Daily Mail, Charles charity cash hit by shock new probe. The Guardian, betrayal of the North, fury over delayed and downgraded a rail plan. The Daily Mirror, HS2 faced. There's a theme there. The Daily Star, Richard Madley, my 3 in a bed shocker. Apparently there's a ghost in the bed. I think they're, I haven't said it more than that really. And finally, the Sun newspaper, stop milking it, Meg. I don't think they like Meg that much, actually. This is obviously Meg Markle. Right, let's move it over to you, Nick. What have you picked out for the papers?
Good morning, Mark. Actually, there's a couple of things which are relevant to me at the moment. I noticed one, flicking through, there isn't a great deal in the papers. There is an awful lot of nonsense, really, as papers normally are. But the one I picked out today, which is relevant to a lot of people on this screen and listening to this today, is Barclays Bank axed 300 bank managers. And the reason why I brought this up is because not just dealing with the charity world and dealing with the banks and dealing with Barclays, which is one of my banks, to lose your bank manager that we've had for, years ago when you had a bank manager and you ran businesses and the guys on the screen and people will understand it. You pick the phone up, you want an answer, you want to talk to somebody, you want a direct conversation, you want to set a mortgage up, you want to pay something off, and your bank manager was your go-to. Now, I mean, I've got to be honest, dealing with some of the things I've dealt with in the last 6 months, the banks at the moment, you're on the phone to a mandate team for an hour, you still can't get a decision, you've got paperwork after paperwork. I mean, you can lose deals, everything can go wrong. I just think, and now Barclays have decided to axe 300 managers. A bank manager is an imperative part of your business. And now somebody on the end of the phone, Mark, is just not what you want to speak to. And that's if you can get through to them, and that's if you can get the paperwork correct. Okay then, Nick, are you going to change banks? Do you know what? Well, with myself, I'm with 3 banks, and also Pied Piper's got a few various accounts. And of course, Allied Irish has just decided to shut their bank and give the money back. Virgin Money's been Clydesdale Bank's been taken with Virgin Money. Will I move banks? The problem, and again, moving a bank is another problem. If you want to move a bank, it's going to take you so long, and you've got no personal contact anymore. And I just think, for all us businessmen at the moment, banks are critical and crucial to your business. And I think that just dealing with somebody on the end of a phone is not the way forward.
Well, I totally agree. The worst thing of all about Barclays Bank, I hate going to Barclays Bank. Barclays Bank's my bank, by the way, as well. But how much money do they need to make? I mean, they made billions of pounds profit. Surely it comes a point where they've got to deliver that service. It can't just be let's make more and more money.
Well,
Is
I
2 billion
personally
not enough?
I don't think they're delivering a service anymore. I speak to myself here, other businessmen, but even down to dealing with the charity and Pied Piper, you've got a board of trustees and you've got to get mandates changed, you've got to get decisions done. And it is just an absolute carnage trying to get anything done, really is. And it used to be the fact that if you wanted 200 grand by Friday to buy whatever, or you wanted to make a decision on your bank, you can have it done in no time. Now, it just takes too long to do anything with the banks.
And of course, they're closing branches. Barclays is closing in Stroud, and Lloyd's have closed branches all over. We've seen it. Some places. I remember in Newent, I think they've only got a post office now.
Well, the Lloyd's are shutting the one at Brockworth, so the Pied Piper shop at Brockworth. Now, obviously, we've got staff there, so we want the money cash in the bank every day. Well, of course, that's another problem now. That brings another member of staff in, or somebody, one of us has got to go and get the money every day and get it in the bank or hold it. So, yeah, shutting the banks. Bank managers, where's it going to end up? That's my question. Where is all this going to end up?
No people, mate. They don't want any staff. That's the way to run a modern business. It looks like. Look at Amazon and the shops. The way they're trying to get rid of retail staff. That's fantastic. Thanks ever so much, Nick. Not fantastic for you, but I know where you're coming from.
No, I think it's everybody. I mean, I'd like to ask around. I think it is a problem going forward, and I just don't know where it's going to stop with these banks at the moment.
Okay, quick view of the rest of the panel then. Morton, do you have problems with your bank? I know it's a difficult one. If you don't mind asking it.
I mean, being based in Frampton, it's Lloyd's, who we bank with. They closed multiple branches, and now it's we have like retail sales. People come and buy bags of gravel and that, and you still take an element of cash, right? I mean, I know Corona's changed that a little bit, but there's you still need to go to a branch, and now we're finding ourselves having to drive to, sending a member of staff to drive to somewhere like Dursley or Gloucester to go and do some banking from Frampton on 7, which is just nuts. But I mean, the banking world, they're just trying to move it all online. I mean, you can take a photo of a check now and log it in and bank it. So the technology is advanced, so I kind of get it, but equally there's just times where you need to be able to walk in somewhere and you need to be able to talk to someone. And I think we've all found that the virtual world at the beginning of the pandemic was great because it gave us an immediate antidote for what we weren't getting. But I think over the period of the 18 months or whatever it's been, we've all found that actually it's not all it's cracked up to be, and that we need that human contact to do certain things, and actually it's now flipping around the other way in the fact that people are just insistent of like, we need to do this face to face. And I think banks have got to learn up to that, but I think again it's their cost cutting. But yeah, it's a real challenge. You need to go in a branch times, and even then you've got to use these machines, and they don't take certain things and they spit it out and they don't count whatever properly, and then you just go, I'm getting back in the queue. But it's always lunchtime, isn't it? And they've only got one teller on. So, yeah, it's a nightmare.
I couldn't agree more. And especially cash. If you guys got a lot of cash, you've got to give it to a member of staff to carry a lot of cash in their car.
Yeah.
It's not really safe. James, have you got the same problem? What's the problem?
Actually, I have to say, I still have here a direct bank manager at HSBC, who deals with all of our stuff and is actually really good. I can email him and ask for a thing, and I get the thing very quickly. He still comes to see us. I imagine we're probably one of his smaller clients, but he still comes to see us and we sit down. He's a bit younger like me as well, which helps, and that's with our business bank. Personally, with Barclays, I do everything all online myself now. But the other day I needed to transfer money from one of my accounts to the other. I didn't have a phone because, long story, but it broke. And so I couldn't do it on my phone. I couldn't get onto my online banking to do it. And I thought, well, I'm going to go into the branch for the first time in 6 years. I'm going to go into the branch. This is exciting. So bundled my way into town with my eldest, parked up, trudged through town, got to Barclays in Stroud, closed. It's a Wednesday, the only day they're closed in the week, Wednesday. I thought, what the hell am I going to do? I know that you can do some banking at the post office. So I went into the post office and said, if I give you my card, can you see all of my bank accounts? She said, no, you can pay money into that account or take money out of that account. That's it. So I thought, well, I need to get some money into this account on this card. Then the only way I could do it, I came all the way to work. I thought, I'll come to work. I'll transfer some from the work account into my personal account. Didn't have my laptop, couldn't do that. luckily I saw James, my co-director, outside, and he did it on his phone in the end and just bunged me some cash into for some stuff I needed to get on a specific card. And the whole thing was just a nightmare. But you know, the one time I needed the branch in 6 years and it was closed on a Wednesday.
Mark, I think the point of Vic, I've got a bank manager still, but the bank manager can't make a decision anymore. Not like years ago. You'd phone your bank manager, they would actually make the decision there and then for you, loading the money or whatever. We haven't got that anymore.
Right.
I've got a bank manager, but I don't think he's going to be there much longer, for honest with you, and it's online. But point being is that direct contact is definitely going, and the bank manager you've got cannot make a decision, a commercial decision for you in your businesses.
Okay, all right, thanks. I'll leave you out that one, Richard, if you don't mind. But let's go quickly on to the other stories, and I'll go into you, Richard, beforehand, as we haven't spoken to you yet. So, Richard, what have you picked out for the papers?
Well, I picked out in the Telegraph today the article that you mentioned earlier, which was the lockdowns return to Europe as virus surges. And, you know, it's incredible as I walk around nowadays outside how few people are wearing masks, how few people are recognizing that they wear a mask to protect everybody else. I went into Asda this morning to get these newspapers. A good story there that they had yesterday's there rather than today's. So I had to go to Tesco and get those. But in both places, all the people who are walking around were not wearing masks. And that's one of the reasons why this very transmissible disease is continuing to spread, continuing to force lockdowns all around Europe. There was an odd thing about Austria, that they are keeping everybody who's not been vaccinated at home. How on earth do you enforce that? Are they going to be putting stars on their forehead if they're not vaccinated so they can recognize? It sounds horrendous what they're planning there. It's just ridiculous. And at the same time, as we've got all this, these lockdowns being coming back into Europe, we've got all these migrants trying to get into and out of Europe, into Poland and out of France, into the UK. It's, you know, what kind of a world are we living in? Again, just below that article that I read that Britain is sending 100 troops to Poland to help shore up the eastern border of the EU. It just, you know, what is going on in the world? And the reason they're doing that is because they're afraid that Russia's going to invade Ukraine. It's a horrendous thing to start reading about in the morning.
It is. Well, it's a very dangerous world. Not only Corona, you've got Russia rat in its cage, you've got China rat in its cage. And, you know, Russia's shooting down a satellite. You've got to ask yourselves, why have they done that? Why have we tested a satellite now? You know, was this, you know, are they aiming to shoot a satellite down over Ukraine? Anyway, who's to know? Thanks so much.
Russia's more interested in finding our jet at the bottom of the ocean at the moment.
What our jet, you mean? Yeah, probably. James, what have you picked out for the papers, please? We've got to wrap this up quite quickly, unfortunately. But
yes, that's okay. Daily Mirror. This is about Morecambe and Wise. This is a new Morecambe and Wise episode that's been discovered in Eric's son's attic. He basically went into the attic, was looking for some paperwork and came across a canister, and in it was an unreleased episode of Morecambe and Wise. So the BBC have got it and they're airing it at Christmas for everybody to enjoy, which I think will be nice. And it reminded me that, you know, Morecambe and Wise, I'm only just 32, so a bit before my time, but I've seen a lot of it with my parents and my grandparents, and it reminded me that, you know, that Only Fools and Horses, you know, Aid Emerson, Rick Mail, we've seemed to have lost all that good telly. I think all that fun slapstick stuff has gone. And when I look back on some of those older, you know, they did variety and comedy and stuff, it's just so good. It's just so simple and clever. And all that good telly is gone now, I think, unfortunately. But I'm going to look forward to watching this and Christmas.
And you used to watch it with the family, didn't you? We used to watch it with your mum and dad, and your granny, and whatever. You know, all of us used to watch Morecambe and Wise together. It was fantastic. You've also got a story about the Mr. Men. Do you want to just talk that as well quickly?
I have. So I thought I'd just keep things light today. 50 years of Mr. Men. Hopefully you can see that there. Celebrating 50 years of the Mr. Men books. And they've come out here with some interesting facts about some of the Mr. Men books that you might not know. For example, Mr. Mo was created for the fundraising event Movember in 2013, which obviously people are doing now. And he's now known as Mr. Moustache. Mr. Fussy was briefly called Mr. Persnickety in season 1 of the Mr. Men show. And Mr. Bump is known as Dumpy Bump in Norway. Loads of fun. They've got 20 different fun facts here that you didn't know all about the Mr. Men books. So I just thought that was nice fun. And books that my kids read. I've got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. They read it, and I suspect this will keep going for another 50 years.
No, great fun. I do remember my kids reading them. Thanks very much, sir. Right, Morton, welcome to Punchline Talks. Great to have you on the show. Morton, what have you picked out for us? I call you Mr. Morton now.
Yeah, Mr. Morton. I've gone a bit weird just because only a man that digs holes in the ground for a living can pick this sort of story, and it sort of resonated with us because we had a similar find in one of our quarries. But scientists have discovered the longest ever dinosaur, the length of 5 London buses, after fixing a fossil mix-up. Basically, I don't know whether you can see it. It's on my phone. There's a there's a little T-Rex underneath it, so it's a big old beastie. And basically, they've found this Supersaurus. They've called it a Supersaurus of all things. They've got all these fancy names for all the other ones, and they've called this one the Supersaurus.
A lot of work went into that name.
Yeah. So they found this. They found these bones in a quarry in southwestern Colorado. It's pretty cool. But as I said, for me, it struck resonance with me that we found, I think, only the second whole mammoth's head in one of our quarries here over in the water park. So it got my sort of prehistoric juices flowing. Unfortunately, that one. So
I was going to say, what's the weirdest thing that you've ever found in a quarry?
Yeah, bits of mammoths, really. I mean, obviously there's Iron Age and flints and arrowheads and things like that. We find a lot of that, and roundhouses and stuff like that. And a big part of what we do is archaeology. So there's a lot of finds discovered. But I mean, it was this mammoth's head. I mean, it's huge. It took sort of 7 of us to move it. You just don't realize that bone can be that heavy. It even went on Richard and Judy. It did a little tour of the UK. It's pretty cool. But we've got it in our reception area at our head offices at the moment. But it was, as I said, it's only a second whole one to be found in the world, which is pretty cool that some independent outfit in Gloucestershire found it.
Did you go on the tour with it?
No, I didn't. Unfortunately, well, I say unfortunately, it's just as well as I didn't, because I wouldn't have been able to talk about it much. But no, the chap that discovered it, that knows all things dinosaur, toured with it and gave the proper information. For me, it's just a big head, but it's very cool. But it's weird because we were finding the tusks in the same quarry, and we just assumed, how many mammoths are going to be together when they died in whatever cataclysmic event happened. But we've had them all DNA tested, and they're all from different beasties. So one of our quarries had evidence of I think up to like 4 or 5 different mammoths in it. So it's pretty cool, I thought.
Wow, yeah, no, fantastic. Well, thanks ever so much for that. That's great. We're going to go back over to Nick now. Nick, let's talk about the car industry. We all know that there's been a chip shortage. There's a piece in the Daily Telegraph today. Global microchip crunch drives car sales to record low across Europe. Car sales have rocketed, second-hand car sales. What's the market like now?
It's a marketplace we've never seen before, experienced in my 40-odd years of being in the motor trade. Never seen this before. We've had ups and downs in the motor industry, but this in particular is exceptional. Used cars prices, as you know, are through the roof. Some cars up 45%, so most average cars up 30%. People who bought a car 2 years ago is going back and getting their money back and profit on their cars, which is never heard of. As I told you before, Mark, in the motor industry, we've got high overheads, but also we're normally dealing with depreciating assets. Now, if you can't make money in the motor trade, you're never going to make money in the motor trade. The interesting thing about the new car sales is that I was with Andrew Holcooper at Cotswold BMW this week for a meeting, and they're going to hit 93% of their new car target this year, which is pretty strong. There's a lot of manufacturers not going to get anywhere near that. But the used car prices, when will we see it change? I cannot see it changing. Looking at prices online yesterday, looking at what we're trying to buy every day, it's still going up. There is not a sign in the marketplace of a change at this moment in time. And until we get the volume car, new cars come back on the marketplace with the part exchanges coming, the leasing companies take up their quota of cars, then we're not going to see a change in used car prices at all.
Okay. What about the van market? Just very quickly.
Same as Mark, absolutely. Do you know what? Yesterday, I've got some contracts that we have to supply so many vans to certain companies every month, and I'm sort of their backup when they get in trouble. I was trying to buy vans yesterday online and trying vans through contacts, just cannot get near them. Long wheelbase high roof vans or long wheelbase medium roof vans, if they come on the market, it might be 2 a week in the country. It is ridiculous at the moment, and they're just going through the roof. When will they drop? We have no idea when it will start dropping, but at the moment, everything is still climbing.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Nick. Great report. James, let's go over to you, sir. James, you're Wolfies. You launched the NAF brand of product. Do you want to explain to people what NAF is, please, and Wolfies as well? You managed to get it on British Airways and on GW trains. We don't have very long, unfortunately. We are running out of short of time. So just give us an overview, mate, of the marketplace.
Yeah, so Wolfies was the instant porridge pots we launched about 8 years ago, and those have done really well. Now listed with British Airways, GWR trains, Waitrose, Co-op, Ocado, all of the major multiples and stuff like that. And that is excuse the pun, but that's really taken off literally. Now the NAF brand is something that James and I created at the beginning of this year. It's kind of really different to anything else we've done. Super crazy branding, and we've kind of taken off 30 years experience of running Kitchen Garden, although we've not been running it for 30 years, flipped it on its head and just created this really cool brand, which is now really starting to gain traction with new independent outlets. We might see Co-op come on board with that soon as well, and some other stuff. So that's good fun. But the food supply chain at the moment is just crazy. That we can't get stuff, and when we can, it's weeks and weeks and weeks. There's not enough drivers to deliver stuff. Prices of things. Actually, ingredients are fairly stable, but you've got things like energy costs for us, which over doubled compared to what we were paying. And that kicks in yesterday. Our new contracts kicked in. National living wage increases, historic, mandatory pensions, all of those things now start to put more and more pressure on small businesses, and some of them are really good, right? Like a national living wage increase, that's great for people who are on national living wage, who'll now end up getting a bit more. But the squeeze at the moment on the supply chain is crazy, and there's if you come and look right now, you probably won't find a single part of Wolfies, because we can't make it quick enough, because the flip side of this huge squeeze on the supply chain, actually people want stuff and they want it now. There's been this huge reopening after the lockdown of everybody needing to get more stuff on their shelves, which puts even more pressure on suppliers. But I think, I've spoken to a lot of our customers and said, it might be 4 weeks before I can get you this order, and it might not even be all of your order. And, they've gone, we get it. That's the same, these coffee shops say, for example, well, I can't get syrups, or I can't get, somebody was trying to order some crockery or something and it had a 6-month lead time on it for, plates and knives and stuff. So I think
perhaps, mate, is that we're all in it the same together, so people do understand.
Yeah,
basically. No, thanks ever so much for that, mate. And just last thing, do you think you'll have to put your prices up? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to, and it's the first for Wolfies. It's the first time we'll have ever done that, and we will have to across the board. There's no way we can absorb those extra costs now. But again, having conversations with all of our customers, and I've approached them and said, we've got to do it. I'm afraid we hate to do it, and they say it's totally fine. Everything else is going up. We get it. Our costs are going up. So our customers understand, which is always good. Inevitably, we might lose a couple, those that have had to have maybe very big price increases because they've been on historically low prices that we can't continue to afford to supply them on. But from a commercial point of view, that's probably not a bad thing. As much as I'd ever hate to lose a customer, those that are making us a loss perhaps is the right thing to do. So we'll see how that pans out over the next few months.
Okay, right, thanks ever so much. I'm going to go to Richard now. Hi, Richard. Obviously, it was in the report the other day that we ran that the City Council might be on the move. You and I agreed not to talk too much about that today. But just very briefly, I know you've got 230 staff working for the city council. How's that split across the different areas?
Well, the place that we lease from the county council at the moment, we've got about 100 desks there, probably catering for maybe 120, 130 people, but it's hot desking. But our staff are primarily, they're all over the place. There's some at the crematorium, there's some at the Guildhall, some at the museum, some at our Eastern Avenue depot where Basser operate from. They're all over the place. And I think the largest number outside of the Shire Hall is at the Westgate Gateway, which is our customer contact centre.
That must be a tough job, mate. You know, not being funny, because you deal with all sections of society. And now I know you're the political leader of it. It must be, you know, when you do a great job, it must be difficult when you read, you know, headlines for the main Tory, you know, Boris is doing this and the government's doing that. Do you sometimes despair? Because you know it will filter through during election time, no matter what you guys do.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I actually hate about elections is that the focus when you're on the doorstep talking to people is always national. And we're local politicians. We're trying to do a job locally to help Gloucester and to deliver for Gloucester and for the residents in Gloucester, whoever they happen to be. And everything gets brought down to Boris did this, or Priti Patel did that, or Ben Wallace has done something else. So it is depressing that all the efforts that we go to locally to deliver improvements in Gloucester, whether it be regeneration projects, whether it be social value projects, whatever it happens to be, they're all subsumed by what Boris has done yesterday, what he had for breakfast, whether, you know, whatever it happens to be. And it is distressing. It's depressing that that happens all the time.
King Square has come on very nicely. You must be really chuffed with that. What's the one, let's go on a positive then. What's the one part of the regeneration of the city that you're really, really excited about?
Well, you'd know it's going to be the King's Quarter area because it's the largest. Over the next couple of years, as it's built out, we'll be borrowing over £100 million to pay for that. We put £4 million from the Levelling Up Fund application that we made into part of that development, which completely sorts out the potential viability issue that we had there. But that's going to be a massive place. I've no doubt everybody's seen pictures of it, that new forum that we're developing there, the new hotel, car park, 125,000 square feet of office space, gymnasium, more city centre housing. It's just a fantastic I suppose you could argue that it's actually a vote of confidence for the city centre, for Gloucester. And as we're driving it, and as more and more money is coming into the city centre, it'll attract more and more people as they want to buy into those people who are working there, and the new students that will be operating in the former Debenhams building. There'll be 5,500 more people in 5 or 6 years' time in the city centre, and that's bound to drive up the how well businesses are doing. That's a good thing. I hate the thought of Gloucester being a 9 till 5 destination. I think with what we're doing there, it's going to be maybe a 9 till 10 operation. It's going to be 9 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, or even later, and that's going to make Gloucester a much more vital, vibrant place.
Yeah, let's be honest, there's no nighttime economy, and that and hopefully this will be the thing that really kicks it off. Thanks ever so much for that, Richard. Morton, let's go back over to you. There's a report out I think it's in one of the papers here, that the HMV lorry seems to be easing the shortage of lorry drivers. Now, you wear a different hat as well, don't you? You're chairman of the, the Road
Haulage Association, yeah. It's the biggest representative body for transport and logistics, commercial vehicles. So yeah, I mean, in terms of your point of the HGV driver issue is easing. I mean, statistically, a little bit, yes. However, the problem is still there. Ultimately, there was going to be no quick fixes. I mean, I think the statistics are, 2 months ago, we were at 100,000 drivers short in the industry, and I think we're running at about 85,000 short at the moment. So it has eased a little bit with the measures that the government have put in place, and also just the HGV driver testing has come back online, which we lost a significant number of drivers last year. to that. So it has slightly improved, but it's still there, and really it's a long-term issue that we need to deal with.
Now, your own business, how's that faring at the moment?
Yeah, good. I mean, we managed to avoid a lot of the driver issue for a little while, just because of the sort of historic nature of our brand, so to speak. People have always kind of aspired to drive one of our green trucks, which we're very lucky.
Well, I've always wanted to drive one, mate. Hopefully you'll let me have a go sometime.
Yeah, you'll have to come down, mate. You'll have to come down.
Just make sure you got some drivers with him. Don't let him drive it all on his own, please.
Yeah, I hope there's chance there might be a nudge going on. But I mean, yeah. So we then for a month or two, the county council and that put some driving jobs up, and we lost quite a few to that, and then we were really short, and we had quite a few trucks parked up for a while. But we're sort of back in a almost happy place now. We could still do with one or two more, but no, we're trucking. And that's the important thing. So let's just hope the economy continues to move forward.
Because part of the hardest part of your job, let's be honest about it, is about people. I know you were very, when we talked in the past, when we did the big interview, your care for your staff was paramount of what you put into the business, really. That must be difficult to make some of those tough decisions.
Yeah, look, we're a family business. I'm third generation. We've been around 90 odd years, and we employ local people like probably everyone else around this table, and you get to know them. You know what's going on. We have husbands, wives, sons, and daughters working for us. So there is that family feel within inside, and I'm the only member of my family working in a business, but I've got truck drivers that have worked for my business longer than I've been alive. So that's kind of the nature. So it does become about people. Our competitors are multinationals. So where we are different is in the customer service, and it's because we have that familiarity and that personable touch.
Okay, well, thanks so much, Mark. We kind of run out of time. I'm going to stay with you for a second. What's the story that you picked out in this week's Punchline?
For me, it was again, relating it back to my own industry, was the article that you had up about Cirencester investing in their public conveniences. And again, that resonates back with me, because I've been campaigning now for the last couple of years about safe and secure welfare facilities for truck drivers out on the UK roads. And it's just, it's something actually in this country when we compare to Europe. And I know post-Brexit, we're not supposed to be talking about those Europeans, but, it's something we're bad at. Our public conveniences and our facilities out there, the Brits are just expected to put up with this slightly substandard, facility, and we just crack on. But I think it's time that we invested some money, and the government put 32 million into improving truck driver facilities on the road. Well, it costs 15 million to create a new facility. So, go figure that one out.
Also, I was very surprised reading about the amount of prostitution there is, obviously, for bus drivers and lorry drivers, on the side of the road parked there. I don't want to get into too much detail, but
I have to say I haven't really researched that one, Mark. You caught me off guard on that.
We'll move on. We'll move on before I get myself in trouble. Anyway, Richard, what have you picked out this week's Punchline, please?
Well, I read your article about the sharp fall in the number of people signing on in Gloucestershire. And I looked at the Gloucester figures, which stood out for me. It said in Gloucester, it's down 29% for 18 to 24-year-olds at 699, and 28% for all ages. That's 3,690. And I'm struck also by the employment and jobs report that I got from the LEP at the end of September, which showed that there are 9,700 vacancies in Gloucester. That's 3 vacancies for every unemployed person. We all know that there's a problem with getting people. The hospitality is falling apart because you can't get enough people to work there. It's the same as Morton mentioned earlier about truck drivers. We've struggled really badly to get hold of truck drivers to work to collect the recycling and the waste. Finally got there, announced yesterday that we've got a full complement of drivers, but for months and months, we won't be able to pick up all the recycling regularly, and that was a struggle, just getting enough staff. If you haven't got a job nowadays in Gloucester, it's because you're not skilled enough to get the jobs that are there. But an awful lot of those jobs don't require a huge amount of skill. It's people wanting to do them, and I suspect for many people, it's because they don't want a job.
Okay, thanks ever so much for that, Richard. And we have regular meetings, by the way, with DWP once a month. I always have a chat with them. That's why we get those figures so quickly. James, going to go back over to you. What's caught your eye in this week's punchline? Very quickly, if you don't mind.
So last time I was on, I talked about Amazon and the amount of, the unbelievable amount of profits they were making, and how I thought that they had kind of been doing, I think they were just doing everything right, really. And I reckon that probably faced a little bit of criticism, but so be it. Again, this one from a couple of days ago, that they're looking to open 260 supermarkets in the UK across the next 3 years. These are going to be cashless. Whether they'll be staffless or not, I doubt it, but there will probably be a couple of flagships where they'll have their, just pick it up, put it in your bag and walk out, and everything's done for you. I love technology. I'm a huge fan of technology. I think the idea of walking into a supermarket, picking something up off the shelf and walking out without paying is okay for one of the Amazon stores. I think that's a great idea. I love how all that stuff works. On the flip side of that, I am nervous that we are getting into a particularly dangerous situation where technology are going to replace jobs. They have been for years, but more and more so. And also, kind of off the back of that a bit, what's his name from Facebook's new metaverse, Mark Zuckerberg, isn't it? His metaverse that he's creating, a whole kind of this whole virtual reality world for us to live in, which is interesting. So technology is advancing really, really quickly, and Amazon, the steam train just continues to plow through with them.
Well, I think Amazon wants everything. I think there's a real danger of being a Blade Runner. You know that film where
yes,
huge corporations take over the world.
Yeah.
And I think we're not too far away from that. We're not.
And of course, yesterday they announced they're no longer going to accept Visa credit cards on their platform from January because the fees are too high. That's true. We use Amazon a bit, Amazon Prime for work, getting stuff in when we need it quickly. So that will create some problems for us at work, but that's probably just them putting a bit of pressure on Visa and saying we'll just stop using it unless you lower our fees. And whether Visa will lower their fees and bend over or not, we'll see.
Well, Amazon get their own credit card, won't they? Okay, thanks for much. Nick, let's wrap up with you, please. What's caught your eye in this week's punchline, please, sir?
Just very quickly, Mark, a festive one really for you. Cheltenham Borough Council, a couple of things. They've opened up their fantastic festive fun skating ring in Cheltenham, which is fantastic. And I'd just like to say that they invited all the charities across on Thursday. So we sent one of the staff from the shop, Ricky from Brockworth, and our promotional board ladies, Fran. They went in Pied Piper colours, and all the charities were there. Big thank you to them. And I just think Christmas is coming. I think it'd be nice for families to go out and do that, and children be able to spend some time. And I just thought it was lovely.
That's fantastic. No, great for them to do that. Hey guys, thanks ever so much for joining Punchline Talk. If you enjoy the show, please like, share, and subscribe. And hopefully we'll see you all very soon. Cheers, bye.